956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, first full week of 2016, all back together here in our downtown Columbia studios after a wild and woolly holiday season. Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes, all together, and hope you had a great holiday season as well. Good to have Larkin Belton back with us, the graduate, and after spending time with his family, after finishing up his college work, back with us behind the studio glass, taking your calls and turning the dials. Well, we are in uncharted territory here for the most part. I was just thinking, I think this is about as long as we will go in January with one of our football teams still playing. When Furman played for the national championship out in Idaho, I don't think it went this. In fact, I think that might have wrapped up in late December, maybe early. Now, I think it was late December back then. I've just been trying to think if we've had any other teams go this far. Clemson will play a week from tonight for the national championship, January 11th. So, guys, uncharted waters. It's got to be a great feeling, too, if you're Clemson and Alabama. Think of all, 128 Division I football teams, and you're the last two practicing. And you know, when they start in August, that's what you tell the players. Let's be the last two to practice.
And they are, although Clemson won't be practicing as
Okay. We'll get you up here in a second. We're keep talking.
Okay.
So
sure.
No, we're still not getting you.
Yeah. Doesn't sound like my microphone.
You've been cut off.
Yeah,
That's one way to do it.
I'll work on it.
Mike 4 there. I know what it is. He's got to push the top button. You've got it. When I was producing, there we go. When I was producing the show behind the glass,
You cut
this
it
mic
off.
was
There you go.
the
Yeah.
producer mic. So you were actually live, Larkin. But anyway, I was going to make the point that both teams are still practicing. One will be able to practice more than the other. That would be Alabama.
Yeah. Unfortunately, to some degree for Clemson, because they start school or their semester starts on Wednesday, they fall under the NCAA practice guidelines, which means they're limited to a total of 20 hours. Alabama has no restrictions. They can practice as much, meet as much, hang out as much as they want to because they don't start school till the 13th.
Ohio State had that advantage last year. They got to practice as much as they wanted, and Oregon had started classes, so they had to.
Do you think it's a big deal?
No, I don't know that it's a huge deal, but in the interest of fair play, the NCAA should probably say both teams practice this amount. Just so there's no perception that one team gets an advantage. And a guy like Nick Saban, some of these coaches, Nick Saban's a guy that'll use that to his advantage or try to say, hey, that extra prep time, these guys don't have to be distracted with their classes and they can do unlimited film sessions. They're not on any kind of restrictions. That could be
State
something.
and Alabama plan on these things. That's why they schedule their classes.
You think their administrators understand this is going to happen and they push the semester start date
He's
back,
only
huh?
half kidding.
We'll be right back. All right, we got so much to do tonight. Where do we begin? We've got all the recruiting information from over the weekend. We've got all the build-up to Clemson and Alabama. We've got South Carolina men's and women's basketball still undefeated. Still the men moving up a little bit in the polls. The women still, I'm assuming, still at number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Clemson men got a nice win over Florida State over the weekend. They go to Syracuse tomorrow. Syracuse has lost 2 in a row, playing kind of rough. USC plays at Auburn tomorrow night. We'll be there for that. Then making our way to Arizona to cover Clemson and Alabama in the national championship game. We'll begin broadcasting from Arizona a little bit on Thursday and then set up full-time on Friday. Be there through the weekend to cover it for you on the website, sportstalksc.com. Of course, at the game on Monday. Post-game presser on Tuesday morning for the champion before we head back to South Carolina. So we got a lot of great stuff to come your way here on Sports Talk. All right, what do you think? Clemson or Alabama? 800-956-7266. 800-956-7266. Is this the dream matchup? The country won. Quickly, Alabama was made a touchdown favorite. Are the odds makers correct? 800-956-7260. Anything from these national pundits this week about what Clemson can't do. Clemson's not going to be able to run. Clemson's not going to be able to be physical with Alabama. You know this is coming, because they're going to be bending the knee at the statue of Nick Saban. and Alabama deserves all the respect you can give them. But this Clemson team, if you don't respect them, then they're going to beat you. Mm-hmm. And they continue to have the national media just has a hard time getting over some things. And I sure wish they'd get the name right. I mean, I hate to keep picking on ESPN, but they are the so-called worldwide leaders. One of their morning anchors this morning, previewing the game, called it Clemson. Clemson. It's an S lady. It's bad enough that you're a woman doing a sports center.
No.
If you can get the name right,
man.
Clemson with an S.
That's pcornblued at Learfield.com.
That's
Please
fine.
send your
Bring them
emails
on.
there.
Bring them on. If you
2015
can't do
and we
the
can't.
job, get back in the kitchen and make me some breakfast.
I
Gracious.
will agree with Tony Kornheiser on one thing, and that is, after you win, don't say nobody believed in you, because let's face it, Clemson's been number 1 since the committee met.
Yeah,
So
the committee believed in him.
Somebody believed in them, and I think the one thing, and Clemson cannot do anything about this because the SEC can't do anything about this, because even when they talk Kentucky basketball, it's always that, well, they got an easy ride through the SEC to get to the tournament. So the same goes with Clemson when some of the national pundits think, well, look what they went through. They haven't been tested. So you're going to hear it regardless. But I will say this. If you're Clemson, during the limited practice time you have this week, practice your deep throwing. This is why I said Kane's absence wouldn't be worth anything in the Oklahoma game, but it may be everything in this ball game, because if you're going to beat Alabama, you got to be able to throw deep a la Ole Miss.
Yeah, well, 2 things. Number 1, Clemson's going to have to beat Alabama for anybody to give them any respect nationally. That's just the way it works. But Alabama will not do what Oklahoma did. They're not going to sit in there and thump their chest and say we have opportunities to exploit them. Nick Saban is not going to do this. If anything, he's going to make his guys feel like underdogs. That's what coaches always do. That's why Nick Saban is one of the best. He's going to talk about what's happened to them in big games the past couple of years and winning that championship. Clemson is going to get a huge test. I disagree that Clemson hasn't played anybody. Notre Dame was good. Mm-hmm. Florida State, good. North Carolina was a good team. You got to play the teams that are on your schedule. Alabama has probably had the same type of schedule as Clemson. They had LSU. They didn't. They had Ole Miss. They lost. Ole Miss might have been one of the top 4 teams in the country if it wasn't for that fluky play against Arkansas. Alabama wouldn't even be here right now. So Clemson's going to have to bring it for sure. Alabama is going to bring it. I give Clemson a great shot to win this game. How do you bet against a team that won all 14 of their games, but it is going to be difficult. They have not seen a guy like Derrick Henry. They haven't seen a defense like this. And Nick Saban, with an extra time to prepare for Clemson in a big game, very big challenge.
Yeah.
And Alabama, they're used to games like this. I mean, this is a different stage for Clemson, and they are a younger team. They still are a younger team. So if I make my pick right now, I do pick Alabama, but that's not a knock on Clemson. That's just because
Don't
I think
apologize,
Alabama's ready.
K-Mac. I always
I'm not apologizing, but people,
saying what you think.
Well, I'm not saying that I don't think Clemson belongs. I think Clemson belongs there.
Yeah.
I just people, they act like it's some kind of slight. I think Alabama's going to win. I think they're the better football team.
I think a key for Clemson will be getting some running game going if they can against Alabama's big defensive front and force Alabama away from playing the two deep safeties, which they did against Michigan State. They never caved into Michigan State. Didn't need to. They stuffed them up front. Mm-hmm. And that, of course, will give Clemson a chance to go down the field. Now, you're right. They haven't placed a running back really like Derrick Henry. Cook at Florida State was a Heisman Trophy conversationalist, at one point in the season. But I don't think that Alabama has really, outside of Chad Kelly, they probably haven't played a quarterback like Deshaun Watson. Of course, Chad Kelly beat him in Birmingham by being mobile, by being hard to pin down, and by creating, on the move. And that's what Deshaun Watson does. So, you look at that and you think maybe Clemson's going to have a little bit of an edge there because they've got that kind of talented quarterback who can make things happen with his arms and his legs. And boy, it'd be scary. I was thinking about this the other day after Chad Kelly led Ole Miss to the Sugar Bowl victory, MVP. What would Clemson have done? Let's just say Chad Kelly had been a good soldier at Clemson, and you had Chad Kelly and Deshaun Watson.
One would have transferred.
Yeah, I mean Kelly. He transferred. The same thing would have happened. It would have just happened probably with a little less drama. I mean, Chad Kelly was frustrated and angry because he probably realized what Deshaun Watson was bringing to the table to begin with. That was not going to go well for him in the long run. And Deshaun Watson's a better quarterback than Chad Kelly, no doubt about it. And Chad Kelly has had a very good year, and you give him a lot of credit for bouncing back. And Ole Miss, I would have loved to have seen them in the 4-team playoff instead of Oklahoma. It's easy to do that now. We've had some duds.
Well,
right? In these bowl games,
will say this:
duds.
The team I really saw they could have been in the playoff, but they had one hiccup, which is why you give Clemson credit for being undefeated. Is that day that Stanford showed up against Northwestern and for whatever reason didn't show up. That team looked real good against Iowa.
Yeah, that's why it wouldn't be bad to have 6 teams or 8 teams.
I'm going to take Clemson. I'm going to take Clemson in this thing. I think that much like I said against Oklahoma, I thought Clemson's defense would be good enough to slow down Oklahoma at certain times and give the offense a chance to build a little bit of a lead. And they did that in the second half, shutting them out. They kept Oklahoma within reach in the first half. The Clemson coaching staff dialed up a phenomenal trick play to keep a drive alive and help them kind of keep things tight in the first half, and then they just dominated in the second half. I think Deshaun and Clemson's receivers are going to make some plays against Alabama's defense. I think Alabama's defense is going to wear down, believe it or not. They're going to get tired chasing Deshaun Watson around, and I think the Clemson offensive coaches will have Watson moving around left and right and making those big. I know they're big and they're strong, but you make those guys run a lot, and eventually they're going to tire out.
Here's the problem, though. As good as Clemson is, and as good as their defense is, they're a rhythm offense. You can tell when Deshaun is a little bit off because they haven't had the ball for a lot of times. Alabama, this is why Clemson has to take the lead, because if they don't get a lead and Alabama gets a 10-point lead, they're going to play keep away and deny Deshaun Watson the chance to get a rhythm. Because offense like that, you got to have possessions. I
will say this: Watson tends to come out tight. He's been a little tight in these big games and overthrowing the ball. Got to get him relaxed early. A lot of things to catch you up on in recruiting. Of course, the news this morning that Riley Ridley, also known as Cavan, decommitted from South Carolina 2 days after committing. Going to rethink some things. And Chris Smith, the defensive back from South Point, his coach, Straight Heron, tweeting out this afternoon the information he had told us about a week or two ago that USC is taking Chris Smith. Actually, I think the new information here is that he is going to be able to enroll early. The coach had told us he was going to stick with South Carolina after they first told him they weren't sure they were going to be able to take him. And now he's confirming that Smith will be able to enroll early at South Carolina coming in this week when the newcomers start to arrive. So the Gamecocks will have at least 6 early enrollees. Smith, Jamarcus King, Kerr Thomas, Brandon McElwain, C.J. Freeman, and Brian Edwards. And Clemson is set to have early enrollees Samuel De Lawrence, Rashawn Smith, Trey Lamar, Tremaine Ankrum, and Sean Pollard at this point. Let's jump to the phones. Your thoughts on the game, 800-956-7266. Your thoughts on the basketball season to date, the bowl season over the weekend, NFL playoffs coming up, the Panthers, so much on the table. And we go to T in Florence for our first call. Hey, T, welcome into Sports Talk. We're good, sir. How are you?
Defense, it's like this, and I've been watching Alabama football for a long time. This is probably the most versatile defense he's had in his whole tenure at Alabama. Would you agree?
I think the safeties are better covering the pass than they were. I thought they were overrated last year at covering the pass. I think these guys can play single coverage. They're safeties this year.
But see, I think, and well, I agree with you on that. As far as the linebackers, the big man can play in space. As far as you got, because a lot of teams to be spread offenses, the coaches have come about figuring that's the only way to beat Saban is you got to spread them out. So Saban kind of got smart on them and recruited quicker, bigger players. So I think that just the versatility of this team makes this defense just one. I'm not saying it's the best defense ever came through Alabama, but in my opinion, it's the best defense I've seen at Alabama since Saban's been there.
Well, I'll tell you what, now you might be right. We'll see. But two quarterbacks had a pretty good day on football against this defense. Dak Prescott, he threw for 300 yards. Chad Kelly threw for 341 yards. So, those two guys can do that against Alabama. You think that Deshaun Watson could be capable of having a pretty big day through the air as well. Thank you for your phone call. Back in a moment. Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from Main Street, Columbia. Sports Talk is your sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina, stretching from the coast to the mountains. Beyond, Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes, 800-956-7266. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com, on Twitter @sportstalksc. The website, sportstalksc.com. Thank you for another record month on the website in December. Keep it coming there. Keep coming back and looking for more. We'll keep putting it on there for you. And on Facebook, it's Sports Talk Radio Network. There was a conference call today with Saban and Sweeney. We'll bring some of that to you. Media Day tomorrow at Clemson. We'll be there for that. The Tigers and the Tide arrive in Phoenix on Friday. There is no media avail, just a picture avail. There'll be no formal press conference. On Saturday morning, there will be a formal media day in Phoenix. And then on Sunday, the final pregame press conference between the head coaches. And then finally, we'll play football on Monday night at about 8:30 Eastern time. By the way, the weather in Phoenix, I'm thinking, oh, man, just left Fort Lauderdale, 85, 88, heading out to the desert. It's going to be sunny and nice. No. The 60s and 50s and rain.
The desert can get
desert's
chilly.
a little goofy.
And they can close the dome anyway.
They can't, yeah.
I would imagine it.
What do you guys feel about this? I thought about this. It's kind of a shame to me that Alabama and Clemson have to go all the way to Arizona to play the title game.
Mm-hmm.
When if the Peach Bowl shit, they would have set Atlanta on fire.
Ah, that would have been.
I think a lot of people would have been happy about that.
Perfect storm. It's like they should just rotate it.
Because they are breaking the budgets of a lot of sports departments all around South Carolina and the state of Alabama. Your ESPNs and your major networks, no problem. They got no problem shipping, 200 people here and there from point A to point B. But your newspapers and your radio networks and things like that, it's a bit of a squeeze. But you know what? You got to be there because you don't know the next time this might happen. Couple of quick notes, and then we'll get back to your phone calls, 800-956-7266. USC made it official today. Kurt Roper is officially on board as quarterback's coach and co-offensive coordinator. Shamik Blackshear, an update from Will Muschamp on him. Muschamp met with some writers today. His condition is improving, could be released soon. They expect for him to be out of the hospital in the next couple of days. He said they're very pleased with his progress. Mickey Matthews is the new defensive coordinator at Coastal Carolina, a 3-time National Coach of the Year who helped 2 programs win national championships. He's been out of football the past couple of years, but for 15 years was the head coach at James Madison and did a great job there. So he is going to go work for Joe Moglia as the defensive coordinator at Coastal Carolina. Lorenzo Ward, USC's former defensive coordinator, reportedly could be landing as a new defensive coordinator at Fresno State. This according to a Football Scoop, saying it's not fun. Sources have told Football Scoop that both Colorado State and Mississippi State are showing interest in Lorenzo Ward for their vacant positions as well. And Sweeney and money. He has already brought in $950,000 in bonuses this year. And according to Aaron Brenner, the Post and Courier, that figure will go above $2 million if the Tigers beat Alabama next week. The ACC championship also triggered a raise from $3.3 to $3.5 million, and 9 assistants, including strength coach Joey Batson and Woody McCorvey, DFO. What is DFO? That would be what does DFO stand for? He works in the football office. I don't know what DFO is. Anyway, they've earned $70,000 in bonuses and would receive $25,000 more with a national
Director
title.
of football operations.
Oh, that's it. Yeah,
There you
DFO.
go.
Yeah, good one. Good one. All right, and basketball rankings. USC is up to number 22 in the AP. Stays the same at number 20. In the coaches poll, Kansas is number 1 by the AP. Oklahoma is number 1 by the coaches. Shaq Goodwin from Memphis, who put on quite a show at the arena on Saturday, is going to face some discipline action, according to the Memphis newspaper. Of course, he was playing to the crowd. Now, remember, maybe you didn't know this. I didn't know this till after the game. His family's from Columbia. His father played for George Glimpf at Eau Claire, had a bunch of family there. So I'm sure he was caught up in the emotions of the family being there, but he got a little bit raucous out
Over
there.
the top.
And they tried to trip Darius Thornwell when Thornwell went to their bench, tried to get back on the court, and they were pulling at him, So apparently he's going to face some disciplinary action there.
Yeah, he started a pretty intense game early when he shoved, I don't remember which Gamecock player out of the way, and then he went to the crowd and kind of beat his chest. And it was on from that point. About 65 fouls later and 3 hours later, it was over.
Unbelievable.
Right.
And one more USC staff note, Auburn defensive analyst Kyle Krantz is joining the USC staff as a defensive quality control coach. This was according to AL.com.
Can we officially call South Carolina Auburn East?
Gonna look that way for it's all said
Somebody was
and
telling
done.
me Saturday night South Carolina is the new Auburn. They got all their coaches and their rivals about to win a championship.
Oh, they do have a lake, just not on campus.
Yeah.
20 miles out. All right, back to the phones we go. Chris in Lancaster, you're up next here on Sports Talk. Good evening.
This afternoon.
Good. Sir, how are you?
Good. Just a little touch up on the Clemson Alabama deal. I think Clemson's offensive line don't get as much respect as they deserve. They've given up maybe 15, 16 sacks all season. They're young, and I mean they protected Watson, although he is mobile. I mean that's got a lot to do with not giving up sacks. But I mean they've done a great job in the trenches. Our defensive line is good or better than anybody in the country. Our DBs probably the best in the country, I think, and I just think we beat Alabama. I think we run 80 to 90 plays. I think we beat Alabama 10 or more points.
I don't think Alabama has Alabama played anybody that plays at Clemson's pace. I don't think so.
No.
And I think I go back to what I think could happen, and that is the plays and chasing Deshaun Watson around. Maybe wear those defensive guys down. You saw what happened to Oklahoma in the second half. Who was the more physical team and who wore down? Who was the more physical team, A, and who wore down defensively, B, in the second half of that game? Now, that was a very hot, humid night in Miami Gardens, no doubt about it. It's not going to be that way because this is going to be indoors, so it's going to be more comfortable. Still, I could see Clemson. I know people not going to want to hear it, especially, outside of this state, because the entire country is going to believe that Alabama's just going to put a big old elephant footprint on Clemson's back. But Clemson can wear Alabama down. I can see it happening.
Me too. I see it happen.
You got a score? You want to venture a score?
I'm going to say 34-20 Clemson.
2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns.
That's a bit bold, but hey, you never know. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. 2 touchdowns for the Tigers there. We shall see. 800-956-7266. Our poll question of the week, of course, is who wins the national championship? And, boy, people are jumping on Alabama. Over 300 votes so far today. 85% are voting Alabama. Now, how many of those could be Gamecock fans just wishing it's Alabama?
A lot.
Or how many of those really believe it's going to be Alabama?
It's interesting. But, the thing is, Alabama is so huge. Their front seven. I know one thing. Deshaun Watson, please throw the football. These journeying into those Crimson Tide defense, they're going to hit for keeps.
Well, it's not like they've been playing touch football to this point. All of a sudden, they're going to play tackle. All right, let's do the recruiting report for you now. We got a lot to catch up on from over the weekend and today, so let's do that, and we'll continue with calls. We'll hear from Sweeney and Saban, little Frank Martin in the next hour as well. First of all, receiver Kevin Riley Ridley. He told folks at the Under Armour game to call him Riley. Up until that, we were calling him Kevin. When he put out his Twitter announcement today, he signed it as Kevin. So I don't know what to call him.
Well, see, Riley Ridley committed to South Carolina. Kevin had made personalities in at that point.
Good point. Anyway, CRR, Deerfield Beach, Florida, announced on Twitter he's not made a 100% decision about his plans, needs more time to sort things out. Been deciding between the Gamecocks and Alabama. His brother Calvin is a star freshman receiver there. Ridley played in the Under Armour game Saturday, but was not one of the uncommitted players scheduled to announce a pledge. But after the game, after being approached by a reporter he knows, Ridley said he was going to go with the Gamecocks. In a follow-up phone interview, he confirmed the plans, though he said he needed more time to think about things and wasn't sure he would enroll this week. He is an early graduate. So he wrote on Twitter, the process has been difficult. Situation made even more difficult because of major coaching changes. He said he needs more time to make this decision. And he said if he's not able to make a solid decision before the spring semester starts, then he will give up enrolling early. And he apologized to the South Carolina coaches and fans. Meantime, nothing but good for Clemson over the weekend. Receiver DeAndre Overton of Greensboro committed last night during the Semper Fidelis All-American Bowl. He picked the Tigers over NC State. He's 6'5", 195, tremendous-looking receiver, 78 catches, 1,251 yards, 15 touchdowns. And then on Saturday, linebacker Rashawn Smith, 6'3", 230, Baltimore IMG Academy. He committed to the Tigers again during the Under Armour All-American game. He originally committed back in August and decommitted so he could take some official visits. And now he has put himself back in the fold with the Tigers, who now have 18 newcomers set to report for the 2016 season. South Point coach Straight Heron confirmed this afternoon his DB, Chris Smith, will enroll this week at USC. Smith has long been committed, but after Will Muschamp took over, he was told that while the scholarship was good for February, he wasn't sure there would be room for him early. Smith decided to stick with the Gamecocks anyway, and as things worked out, they will have room to bring him in this month. 2017 running back Cordarian Richardson of Memphis released a top 8 in no order. Clemson, Tennessee, LSU, Auburn, Oklahoma, Alabama, Michigan State, Florida State. USC offensive line commitment Pete Leota of Asheville will take his official January 15th. He is also set to visit Wake Forest January 22nd. He said he's 100% committed, but he does want to take a couple of other visits. USC offensive line commitment Will Putnam of Harrisburg, North Carolina, said his only official will be USC January 15th. Defensive back Chris Brown of Houston said last night he's not heard from USC since getting an offer last month. He doesn't see the Gamecocks factoring in his plans at this point. He's taken officials to UCLA, Arizona State, and Michigan. He's got a visit to Florida on January 15th. USC also offered his teammate, Montavious Jackson, last month, but he has filled out his visits with Florida and Alabama. He's been to UCLA, Florida State, and Michigan. 2017 quarterback Jake Bentley of Opelika, Alabama, the son of USC assistant Bobby Bentley, told his local paper he won't know until March if he'll play his senior season in Alabama or in South Carolina. He plans to finish his school year in Alabama. He graduates in December. He wants to make his decision before the start of spring practice and the regular season, and has a top 4 of USC, Stanford, Georgia, and Miami. Clemson offered 2016 defensive back Lavert Hill of Detroit on Sunday, according to 24/7 Sports. He reportedly has Clemson, Michigan, and Michigan State as his top 3. Will visit Clemson January 23rd. 2018 defensive back Derek Allen of Marietta, Georgia, offered by USC on Saturday. Former USC commitment defensive back J.J. Givens of Mechanicsville, Virginia, will visit Miami January 16th. He's also got Maryland January 30th. Plans to take a visit to USC as well. USC could land another major prize this week in defensive lineman Kobe Smith of Lawrenceville, Georgia, former Kentucky and NC State commitment, deciding between the Gamecocks and Wildcats, and plans to enroll at a school on Sunday. And he just plans to show up. He doesn't plan to announce in advance. He just plans to show up at the school and be there, or be square. Back in a moment. One more recruiting item for you right now. One of the players USC offered early after Muschamp took over, receiver Keel Pollard of Moultrie, Georgia, currently committed to Arkansas. He was a big reason they won 2 straight 6A state championships, 76 catches, 1,163 yards, 18 touchdowns this year, 6A Offensive Player of the Year in Georgia. He said he's going to take a look at the USC offer, look into it and see what happens. He's taken one official to Arkansas, also looking at USC for an official visit. Been in touch with Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, and Auburn, too. Been communicating with USC running backs coach Bobby Bentley. He said his Arkansas commitment's about 99% right now. There you go with recruiting. For now, we'll drop in other items as we see them, and, of course, post them on our website, sportstalksc.com, on Twitter at sportstalksc. Now, you know, a couple of weeks ago, Will Muschamp did a series of radio interviews, including us. And then today he met with a bunch of writers, including those from right here in Columbia, the state, and websites, this, that, and the other. And K-Mac, you've got a story from him on some comments he made that are in GoGamecocks.com.
Yeah, Josh Kendall with a story, and essentially Muschamp telling Gamecocks to be realistic about expectations, quoting Muschamp, and we are right now. That's who we are. We are also not too far removed from the greatest run in South Carolina history. Let's be realistic about where we are and where we want to go. It's our job to get us there. He continued, Coach Spurrier always used to say, you are what your record is. We are 3-9. Let's understand where we are and what we need to do to get back to where we want to be. He said he's looking at film from this past season, just looking at effort, toughness, finish, kind of looking at it like a pro scout would look at it, Muschamp said. He went on to say, is it going to happen overnight? No, but I'm not going to get into the predictions of what we can and can't do, and I haven't even stepped on the field with our team last year. End of quote.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, yeah, he's not going to come out and say he's going to win the East. Not going to come out and say he's going to be playing in January next year deep. It's probably wise for him to throw a little caution out there and say, hey, let's be patient, give us a chance to get some players in place, get a chance to get our program rolling, and in due time, you'll see the results that you want. And I feel confident that Muschamp and this staff are going to do fine. There's no reason to think that they won't do fine. And you know what? The start of next season, of course, there's going to be a lot of questions about this team, but really, 2 of their first 3 games, I know they're on the road, but they are against Vanderbilt and Kentucky, traditionally beatable teams for South Carolina, even on the road. So it may give them a chance to perhaps go out there and get a couple of early wins and surprise some people and get some confidence going early.
It's just like with Florida. I thought their coaching staff did a heck of a job, but then they showed in the bowl game how far they are if you don't have a stable quarterback situation.
We'll be back, top of the hour break.
Live from Columbia. This South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network here in Columbia. A week from tonight, national championship game, Clemson, Alabama. Alabama 7-point favorite. Looking forward to covering it for you all week through the game next week. We'll be there with the Tigers starting on Thursday evening. 800-956-7266. If you have a comment or an assessment of things, 800-956-7266. Coming up, Dabo Swinney, Nick Saban, talk a little bit today, more from them throughout the week. Frank Martin, USC basketball coach, talking about his team and the 13-0 start and the national ranking and the opening of SEC play tomorrow night down at Auburn. We'll hear from him. Mick Mixon, the voice of the Panthers, will be along. Panthers finish up 15-1, but they lose a key member of that secondary pro in Tillman to a ACL?
Peanut ACL.
Mm-hmm. How significant is that?
That'll be tough, especially covering the slot receivers. But I think the Panthers' front seven is salty enough that they can cover up in intermediate areas. But it is a blow. There's no doubt about it.
The bigger blow to me for the Panthers is the fact that the Vikings beat the Packers last night, and the Panthers would have played the winner of the Vikings-Redskins,
yes,
which is a much better matchup for them. Now they're going to end up with Seattle potentially. If Seattle beats the Vikings, Seattle will fly across the country. And those two teams have been going at it for a few years now, just knockdown, drag-out, brawl-type games. Seattle won most of them until this year. The Panthers kind of pulled the rabbit out of the hat in Seattle. The way Seattle's playing right now, though,
they're dangerous.
I wouldn't want any part of that team. And I just got the feeling this whole year the Panthers were going to have this big run and then in their first or second playoff game run into a team like Arizona, which they're going to avoid to the NFC Championship if they get there, or Seattle. But Seattle is, to me, the scariest team in the NFC right now.
Threw the game last night so they could play Redskins.
I guess we did throw it because in the last two games, the Packers, my team, I can call them we have given up 3 defensive touchdowns off of hits on the quarterback. You know, the ball popping loose or hits on somebody and the other team scooping and scoring 3 times. 3 times. We were 6-0 and looking like a machine. And then we went on holiday and we never came back. We checked out and we never checked back in. And you know what? Kirk Cousins, the way he's throwing the ball with Washington, got to go there. I'm not feeling real good about it.
Of course, Seattle goes to Minnesota, and that's not a home field advantage for Minnesota because they're playing at the University of Minnesota Stadium this year. So
still their fans.
Yeah.
Still their fans. By the way, need to mention the passing of Red Parker, former Clemson Citadel football coach, passed away at the age of 82 today because of heart-related illnesses that he'd been battling in recent months. Top of the hour break is behind us. We'll be right back.
Well, obviously, we're just really excited to be a part
right, coming up in a moment, Dabo Swinney and Nick Saban get together for the first time to talk about the national championship game coming up a week from tonight. You want more from your education? Palmetto College offers the quality of a 4-year education online. To find out more, visit palmettocollege.sc.edu. With Palmetto College, your future has no limits. All right, today, the CFP, the College Football Playoff people, put together a national conference call for the 2 remaining head coaches in the playoffs, Dabo Swinney, Nick Saban. Let's take a listen.
Obviously, we're just really excited to be a part of the national championship game, and really proud of our team for just the work that they put in this season, our staff, to earn the right to be in this game. Coming off a great performance in the Orange Bowl against Oklahoma, we're excited about getting back to work, and we know that we've got an incredible challenge with Alabama. We've got great respect for the University of Alabama and Coach Saban and their staff and what they represent. They certainly have been the standard in college football for a long, long time, but especially since Coach Saban has been there. And so it's a great honor to be able to go and compete at the highest level with the team that represents the best. And so we know that we're going to have great preparation here and play very well to have a chance to win the game. But again, just proud of our team and our staff for the type of season that we've had, and we look forward to a great game out in Arizona and traveling out there and competing one last time and hopefully playing our best 4 quarters. And congratulations to Alabama and Coach Saban again for the great year that they've had and winning their league and winning the college football playoff game that they're in as well.
Great, thank you. And now we'll turn it over to Alabama head coach Nick Saban. Coach, welcome.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Executive Director of College Football Playoff, Bill Hancock, and his staff for all that they've done to make this, such a great competitive venue for the 4 teams last week, as well as the opportunity that Clemson and we have created for ourselves to play in a national championship game. I'm really proud of our team and what they've been able to accomplish, the improvement that they made, the hard work that they've done. Our players, our staff, everybody in our organization has done an outstanding job, and also like to congratulate Clemson on what they've accomplished in winning their conference and being in the national championship game. So this is certainly going to be the most challenging game we've had, to this point. Clearly, Clemson is, a team that is good in all facets of the game. Very, very good offensive team, great defensive team, play well on special teams, very well coached. Dabo has done an outstanding job, and a lot of good players that are very well coached that play very well. And I think, as it should be, this is a game that 2 great teams are going to have a great opportunity, to compete in, and it's something that we're certainly looking forward to and pleased that we've created the opportunity for ourselves to do that. So looking forward to being a part of this national championship game.
Your next question comes from the line of Dennis Dodd with CBS Sports.
Dabo, congratulations. How would you describe this Alabama defensive line, and is there anything you can compare it to?
Oh, they're by far, clearly the best that we've seen. They're, as good as it gets in the country, number 1 in about everything defensively. But the biggest thing is they just have great depth in their defensive line. They roll them guys in there, play a lot of guys, a bunch of subs, and they all play at a really, really high level. That's why they're, a great team. We were number 1 in the country in defense last year, and we had 6 seniors in that defensive line. We had such great depth, experienced depth, and that's what I see, with Alabama. A bunch of guys, a bunch of seniors and juniors, and all those guys are, starter type of bodies. So big, strong, physical guys, and obviously well coached. But that's the biggest thing that jumps out at you. Most teams that you play, that you don't have the type of depth that Alabama can present.
In general, I'm told that's the hardest position to recruit. Is that true? How hard is it just to get quality D linemen?
Well, I mean, it's tough. I mean, everybody's looking for those guys, that are difference makers at that position. It's one thing to go sign D linemen. It's another thing to sign difference makers. And Alabama's got a bunch of them. There's no doubt about it. A bunch of those guys, most of them will. But that's why, and that's kind of how we've been here. We've built this team in the trenches. And most great teams, that's where it starts. You got to be able to control the line of scrimmage and, have some type of running game and stopping the run. And certainly that's been what Alabama has been for a long time. And we've tried to do that here. We've tried to go and the best we can and getting those guys to help us be dominant up front. And, we've done a good job of that. We don't have the experience that they had this year. Our first line guys, I think, are really, really good. But our depth is really young. They're growing up. We had, Austin Bryant went in and played the whole game the other night when Shaq got hurt and played great as a true freshman. So they look a lot like we looked last year in that defensive line as far as the experience and the depth that they have up front. That's why they're number one.
Your next question comes from the line of Andrea Edelson with ESPN.com.
Dabo, I was wondering if you have an update on Shaq Lawson and whether he'll be able to play.
We'll get him back out there today. He looked pretty good. So far so good. We'll see him out there today, but I think the prognosis is good at this point. But got to get out there and run around a little bit today, and we'll kind of go from there. But I'm very optimistic that he'll be able to play.
What about the way the defensive line was able to play without him last week and the way Bryant stepped up in his place?
Oh, well, that's what it's all about. I mean, it really is, and that's been the key for us this year. We knew coming in, we lost 6 defensive, 10 guys off of last year's defense went on to NFL, and 6 of them were D linemen. So we knew coming into this season, a real key for us. We thought our frontline guys, Shaq and Dodd and Reeder and Carlos and those guys would be more than as good as what we had last year. But we just weren't going to have the same type of depth. Last year we're taking Vic Beasley out and bringing in Shaq Lawson. We're going to be very young. You're going to have guys like Yergin and Austin Bryant and those type of guys, Pagano and Christian Wilkins, a lot of young players. So we were hopeful that we could get through, at least the first of the season and stay healthy so that we could develop those guys a little bit. And I think that's what you saw in the is even though Austin has played, not as much as Shaq, but the cumulative effect of his experience and the practice and just being able to bring him at a healthy pace has been very beneficial for us.
All right, Dabo Swinney and Nick Saban from the conference call earlier today. Again, we'll be up at Clemson tomorrow for the Clemson Media Day. Alabama will have a Media Day on their campus on Wednesday, and then the teams will head to Phoenix on Friday. Going to be very exciting to see how this comes together for Clemson and Alabama, the second go-around for a national championship setting like this for college football in year 2 of the CFP, this time out in Glendale, Arizona. And I think you got a great contrast in teams here, a contrast in coaching, contrast in personalities. I think it makes for a terrific matchup and 2 teams with a ton of talent on the football field. Back in a moment.
How has this season been? Just
Yeah,
talk about.
It's been fun, man. You know, it's what makes this fun. We got a
Okay, we're back, shifting gears away from Clemson for a few minutes here on Sports Talk. Of course, the Panthers, another big story around here, headed towards the playoffs, 15-1, with a great run they have had. They get a week off, rest up, get a little healthy, see who awaits them in round 2 of the playoffs. Our good friend Rich Taylor was up in Charlotte yesterday to cover the Panthers and talk to some of the players after the game. He caught up with a star linebacker, Luke Kuechly.
How has this season been? Just
Yeah,
talk about.
It's been fun, man. You know, it's what makes this fun. And we got a great crowd at home. They've done a great job. The buzz in Charlotte's been awesome. And the best part about our team right here is this in here. You know, our locker room's a lot of fun. Guys have fun. You know, all day. You know, whether it's guys dancing, guys having fun, guys joking around, guys playing. You know, whatever. And it's been fun. And this season's been special. And hopefully we can keep it going.
Have you looked ahead at all to the possible scenarios of who you guys might play?
No, you know, I haven't had a chance to see even who won the game this afternoon. And you know what makes the NFL cool is these next few games are big time. You know, whether Green Bay or Minnesota win, it kind of flip flops everything. So we'll see what happens.
Arizona was down 30-7 at the half. 30-6.
Well, I guess that was that. But we'll see. You know, it's going to be a good competition. There's a lot of good teams in the NFC, so we got to be ready to go.
How about Thomas Davis? Talk a little bit about him joining you in the Pro Bowl this year.
Oh, man, he deserves it, man. He's worked his butt off since he's been here, and finally for him to get some recognition is big time, and he deserves it 100%. I'm happy for him, and you know, he's more than deserving of it.
Last thing I want to mention, kind of weird, but the injury was obviously pretty gruesome out there. And
Yeah.
Have you ever been on the field for when something like that happened?
I felt bad for him. You know, I just wanted to make sure that they had their guys come out as quick as they could. You know, I didn't look too much at it. You know, I tried to make sure that they got their guys out and stuff. You know, it's unfortunate. I hope he gets better quick.
Did you hear it?
No, I didn't. You know, I just was trying to fit my spot, and I don't know what happened. I know Thomas right after the play said he was motioning their sideline super hard to get their guys out there, and you know, I was trying to help them out too. And it's tough, and I think their trainers and our guys did a great job, and I hope he's doing okay.
Yeah, I didn't see the injury. I was listening to Mick's call, and guys, it sounded like it was gruesome because and it happened very early in the game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, about halfway through the first quarter, and I had flipped away and came back right as the announcers were saying we're not going to show that anymore. We can't show it anymore. And seeing all the players, that's how you know it's bad when you see the players' reaction. Thomas Davis had tears in his eyes. A lot of the Tampa Bay players had tears in their eyes. Yeah, very gruesome looking injury.
And just remind you what can happen in football, especially in the trenches. And it's unfortunate, but the good thing is listening to the Panthers sideline announcer, Jordan Gross, he said he had the same injury and came back from it and was able to play 5 more years in the NFL. So that's a good thing. Thanks to Rich Taylor. Rich has got more interviews from the Panthers that we'll have for you throughout the week as we scatter that in among everything else that we're doing here on Sports Talk. Coming up, some comments from USC basketball coach Frank Martin. Especially, you want to pay attention to what he says when asked about comments that Josh Pastner made regarding South Carolina needing to extend Martin's contract and do it soon. That's coming up. As a new quarterback coming to the SEC for defenses to kick around next season, Austin Appleby, redshirt junior from Purdue, transferring to Florida for his final season of eligibility. This according to a Purdue website for Rivals. 6'5", 239. He'll compete with Treon Harris, Luke Del Rio, Felipe Franks, and Kyle Trask. Started 11 games last 2 seasons, 2,777 passing yards, 55%, 18 touchdowns, 19 interceptions. Was benched this season after throwing 6 picks in a loss to Virginia Tech. I don't like this rule. I think this rule is getting abused repeatedly in college football. It wasn't intended to be used this way, much typical of college sports. Nice idea, but just gets abused over and over again.
Well, you know, that's why when you come up with an idea and people don't like it because everybody wants to trumpet the idea, hey, this is a great idea, is the first think about how it can be abused, then think if it's a good idea.
I mean, the idea was to give guys a chance to do something academically. It wasn't supposed to be about enhancing your football career. It was supposed to be about you want to go someplace to finish your master's or whatever you're working on. And that was supposed to be the intention. But now it's become another recruiting tool.
Well, yeah, it has. But at least these are guys that already have their undergraduate degree, so they've done something right.
But it's turning out that most of, I'm not going to say most of them, it's turning out that some, maybe a lot, they've got some sort of either personal baggage or on the field baggage. I mean, there's a reason that the school they're leaving is letting them go. Either they got somebody better coming up or these guys.
Well, I thought if you graduated, they don't have any choice. You can go and play your last year anywhere you want. You don't have to be released.
No, there are limits. As I recall with, was it Golson or I think there are some limitations that you have to.
And I know in the SEC, if you have baggage, they just created this rule this year. The Georgia rule, Georgia's the one that proposed it. Mark Richt pushed for this. If you have any kind of disciplinary reasons for leaving, illegal or within the administration of the school, the SEC can't take you.
I thought the only little quirk in the system is you had to find a graduate degree that wasn't available.
That used to be one of them too. My thing is, coaches, they get to leave willy-nilly whenever they find a better situation for them, right? No one bats an eye. Coach says, this is a better job for me, I'm out. After 1 year, after 2 years, they go. Players, they should be able to better themselves if they've done everything right. I agree. If a guy gets kicked off the team, then you have to think twice about it. Or if they flunk out of school, they have to go through a junior college. But these guys, they're just not playing. It's not working out. They're buried on the depth chart, and they want to go somewhere where they can play, where it's a better situation for them. Sure, go for it.
All right, to USC basketball, the Gamecocks, one of 3 undefeated teams left in men's college basketball in D1 at 13-0. They'll try to go to 14-0 tomorrow night at Auburn. SEC play opens up for Frank Martin.
At the end of the day, everything every team ever does is all about their league. And when you have a league affiliation like we do with the SEC, you understand that the 18 games that face you are just hard. And there's not easy anywhere in our conference. And from the coaches to the players to the environments, there's just not easy left on the schedule. And that's one of the reasons why we try to practice as hard as we do and prepare as hard as we do, is because our focus is and will always will be on our conference.
Frank, you mentioned several times that after last year's hot start, you guys had a bad month. Last year, and how do you plan on avoiding them this year?
Yeah, it's every season's different. We're dealing with kids, man. we all tend to get a little older. You know the old story that the older we get, the better player we are. Also, the lesser sins we committed when we were that age. We tend to act like we're perfect. And, we go back and tell all the stories about when we were 18 to 22. People would probably lose their minds of some of the stuff we did. We'd lose a lot of credibility publicly that we've gained now that we're older and people think we're smarter than we actually are. We were just young. We didn't handle things real well. We got wrapped up in the fact that we won some games and that we were relevant to people that had never spoken about our basketball program before, and we didn't handle things the right way. We didn't have upperclassmen. Ty Johnson was our lone senior, but like I said numerous times, Ty tried to lead, but Ty was still trying to. Ty played 2 seasons of college basketball in 4 years. He was trying to figure himself out. He still wasn't like. He'd never been in a winning college locker room. When he was in Villanova's locker room, they didn't go to the NCAA tournament. So he was still trying to figure stuff out. We just didn't handle things, we lost. Here's what happened to our team. We lost perspective on who we were that allowed us to find success because of outside noise and outside positive comments or whatever you want to call them. Hopefully we learned from that and our guys stay in the moment. I just, Paul Biancardi put something on Twitter last night, and Seth and Paul, all those guys were Seth Greenberg, that is, they were all head coaches, so they understand what's getting ready to happen. They understand the life that we will live here for the next 8 weeks. He said the most important thing in conference basketball is that you put the last day, you put it behind you right away. Don't get wrapped up on a win or a loss because it's not good for the next game. And, that's, hopefully our guys stay where they're at right now. They've been in a great place mentally, and it continues that way.
After the game the other night, Pastner, on more than one occasion, I needed to sign you up to a contract extension. Was that a subliminal message that he was floating out there?
I got no idea why he did that. Josh is a friend. I told you guys that. We coached AAU basketball against each other. I know I respect the job he's done and his path, and I told you I thought he respects mine. I don't know why he started his press conference with that. It's not like he and I have ever talked about my job situation here or anything of that nature. I work for an unbelievable guy. I've never been one to care about contracts. It's my opinion that it's up to me to make our players better men, better players, and obviously the nonsense I spoke about earlier. I've never been one. That's why I joke about it earlier in the press conference, and that's why I joked about it last year, because I don't get right. I'm a school teacher. Man, I had nothing in my life, and I became a school teacher. I don't get wrapped up. I told you guys this 3 years ago. I don't know if you remember. People say, Frank, do you feel pressure? Pressure is 35 students, 27 desks, 18 textbooks, 180 days. That's pressure. You got to educate every single one of those kids with those resources. That's hard. I mean, maybe I need to hire Josh. Maybe I need to get Josh on my side, promote me that way. But I work for a great guy. I don't worry about that. Pastides is phenomenal. At the end of the day, simple. I'm either the answer. It's like everything else in life. You're either part of the solution or part of the problem. If I'm part of the solution, then I'm not. I moved as a child 15 times, okay, within the city of Miami. I hate moving.
Okay, Frank Martin, better address that contract, folks, sooner or later. Keeps winning. That number keeps going up, both on wins and on dollars. Back in a moment. Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network here on this Monday night, 800-956-7266 is the number. Trying to reach the voice of the Panthers, Mick Mixon. So, Larkin, let's keep trying to ring him up and see if we can get him on the phone so we can get him on to talk a little bit about the Panthers and the win and how things are setting up for them playoff-wise. Panthers finishing the regular season at 15-1. Nice win over Tampa Bay, though it was costly as they lose Peanut Tillman for the playoffs. Is that Mick Larkin? Mm-hmm. Okay. You want to play the opening? Why don't you play the opening? Why not? Why let a good Mick Mixon highlight go by the boards? Let's give the official opening. There we go.
Cam Newton in the gun. Bends down low to hide for a second. Now flicks a pass, end zone. Cotchery made the grab. Right side for a touchdown. Took it right off of two Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the score.
All right. The voice of the Panthers joining us, Mick Mixon. And congratulations to everybody. What a regular season it was. What a run it was. And now you're back at 0-0, right?
Exactly, Corn. But as you know, because you comprehend sports as well as any sportscaster that I've ever known, and I respect your work and have for many, many years, we should weight the regular season more heavily. It's the course of September, October, November, December. It's harder to go 15-1 than it is to flame on and get hot in a tournament. But our culture, it's a tournament culture. We want to know, can you win the big one? Can you win a major? Can you get to the Final Four? Can you win the Super Bowl? The Panthers understand it, but, man, 15-1 has been phenomenal.
Absolutely, and you're right, Mick. A great point. We've become a postseason tournament sports-minded world. I don't know if I like it. I mean, look, my teams that I root for, they've had success as wild cards. The Packers was a wild card, so they got hot at the right time. I don't know if it's fair, but it's the way the leagues want to operate now at almost every level.
Exactly. Somebody will win a Super Bowl every year. That team might be 9-7. That team might get towed into the playoffs on a wrecker, but then get it tuned up and win. But only how many teams have ever gone 15-1? I think the Panthers are the 7th to ever do it. So let's just. I'm not trying to sell Panther fans on the idea of being happy if the Panthers don't go to the Super Bowl, but I think, man, we just gotta respect and just tip the cap. Just take one more glance in the rearview mirror about this remarkable ride.
Well, as Pro always likes to say, come NCAA tournament time, it's about what? Crowning a champion.
No, it's not about
the best team.
Crowning the best team. It's crowning a champion, because we know 9 won the Super Bowl just a few years ago. Mick, the Panthers have had such good luck with injuries, and then you come to that week 16, and then Tillman goes down. How much of a big blow is that for?
It's big because of all Peanut brings, a mentor of younger players, that Labrador retriever that has swum in all the creeks and knows all the hot spots and the mailboxes and whatnot. But it's not like we haven't been without him, because Peanut, Charles Tillman, he's been dinged up for a couple of weeks now, so that may help the transition.
So Coach Rivera says, quote, "We will use this week wisely," end quote. What's the plan for this week?
The plan is to not deviate from the routine. The plan is for this to be as much like a game week as it can possibly be, knowing that there will not be a game that involves the Panthers on Saturday or Sunday. The players will come in, they'll meet, they'll get treatment, they'll study, they'll practice even.
And Coach Rivera knows, Corn, that teams that are given permission to relax often do. He knows that once you slow down, it's hard to get back to speed. And as we always say, football is such a game of rhythm and timing and confidence. Coach doesn't want to mess up the mojo.
Got a preference? Who do y'all want to see?
I don't know. I don't think the Panthers really care, but isn't it weird that Seattle, the hottest team, the team that no one wants to see right now,
yep,
could be the one if they take care of business. I would say Panther fans are hoping for the Vikings to knock that team off, and let's have your team or Washington come in here.
No doubt about that.
Well, I'd love for my team to get there, but I'm not feeling it. Thank you, Mick. Have yourself a great night. We appreciate it. Voice of the Panthers. All right, coming up on the end of this edition of Sports Talk, tomorrow night we'll be at Auburn for USC Auburn basketball. Should be a good one. 7 o'clock Eastern tip. Auburn beat Tennessee to open SEC play for them over the weekend, but they're a little bit of a banged-up team. Got some players out, but they'll be ready to play.
Canty is the gunner. He's but South Carolina again. Their guards are long. And when you get noticed in the game, he usually is put on the top scorer in the backcourt. Tremendous defensively, but this is the type of game that the Gamecocks better be ready for, because Bruce Pearl is going to make a show out of it. Hey, we got the undefeated team coming in. I could see that place rocking like it's never been before at Auburn tomorrow.
Well, yeah, Cliff had it rocking there time to time back when they were winning an SEC title. And since then, I don't think they've done very much.
No, and it kind of got a little goofy when Porter had the issue with his mom in the NCAA. And I don't even think they played in the SEC tournament that year. Didn't they have
Cliff got them to the Elite Eight, and they came this close from disrailing of Syracuse's run to the championship that year with Carmelo. I think that Syracuse only beat them by about 4.
Should mention that Cliff Ellis won his 700th Division I game. over the weekend for Coastal Carolina.
Charleston's doing well down there, going for their 9th win pretty soon, and won a couple road games at James Madison and who was William and Mary over the weekend or over the holiday break there.
USC women remain undefeated. Big win, easy win for them over Arkansas. Just beat them by 50 points?
Well, see, that's what happens with this team. They're tough enough defensively, and the way Dawn Staley likes to push the ball, and they can beat you that way. If their threes are going down like they were yesterday, they will annihilate you, and that's what happened yesterday.
Tina Roy was shooting like Steph Curry. Corn, you're not going to like this news.
What?
You're not going to like this
what?
With your sexist 1950s attitude. But Samantha Steele Ponder will be going to Clemson, and she's going to be traveling with the Tigers to Phoenix, and Tom Rinaldi's with Alabama. So,
is he taking his piano with him?
I think that he has a piano man that follows him everywhere.
Great answer of a postseason this year was Nick Saban. When Tom Rinaldi, they just annihilated Michigan State. Coach, can we get a smile out of you? I got one more game left.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun. I noticed that nobody reported that we're traveling, not with any team. We're traveling on the Sports Talk Pinto team to Arizona. Put some fresh tires on there.
You better leave now.
Put a new
if you hit the Grand
drive
Canyon,
belt
not
in
too
there.
far.
Got the engine, got the 4 spark plugs tuned up, cleaned up. We're ready to rock and roll. So tomorrow night from Auburn, then Atlanta, then somewhere out in the West. We'll check back with you. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for being with us. Championship week here on Sports Talk. We'll see you tomorrow.